Hello, everybody. My name is Alderman Dave Tenza. I'm here doing a special segment on Access Nashua called Democrats Live. We're talking to the candidates in the upcoming Democratic primary as well as general election to give you folks a sense of who's running, what issues are most important to them, and most importantly, how to get in touch with people, ask more questions, and continue the conversation beyond this television show. So very fortunate to have Melanie Levesque with us here this morning. Melanie is a candidate for State Senate, District
12.
12. Sorry, I always forget whether it's 12 or 14.
Yeah.
But District 12, which covers wards 1, 2, and 5 here in Nashua, as well as a number of other towns that lead all the way out to Rindge, New Hampshire.
Right.
It's a difficult district geographically, we'll say. It's a lot of travel.
It is vast. It's, if you don't mind me telling you, it's Nashua, Hollis, Brookline, Mason, New Ipswich, Greenville, and Rindge. Southern tier.
A lot of towns, a lot of different issues in those towns.
Issues, yeah.
But so Melanie, thank you for being here today with us. Can you just introduce yourself a little bit to folks and let them know a little bit about you and why you're running for the State Senate?
Well, thank you for having me, Dave, first of all, and thank you to the people of Nashua and surrounding towns for listening. The reason why I'm running is that I believe in making a difference through service. I believe that a representative should be listening to their people and to add value, and I also believe that government should put people first. Those are critical elements. I served as a state representative for 6 years for Hollis, Brookline, and Mason, which are somewhat conservative towns, but I was still able to be elected in those towns and serve well, I feel. We did a lot of great work. I feel that we had expanded medical insurance. We brought in Medicaid expansion. We strengthened education by including kindergarten in adequate education. We raised the dropout age from 16 to 18. We funded education as well as defined it. So we did a lot of good work for education, for health care. We stood up for people's civil rights by passing civil unions and marriage equality. And I don't feel that we are working as well as the government today. We see school vouchers being proposed that will weaken our public schools. We don't see support for Medicaid expansion, although it did pass, which is super, and very much needed. We talk about this opioid crisis that is so much looming on our towns, yet we don't fund it by not giving money that is due us in the alcohol fund and through Medicaid expansion. So I feel as a representative and as a senator, what I would like to do is to make sure that we have support for the opioid crisis, for eliminating it, that our schools stay strong. Our schools are actually where that is the foundation, and our children, every child deserves an adequate education regardless of where they live. It should actually be more than adequate, but we are tasked with educating every child, and we want them to be ready for the jobs of the future, because when they get good jobs, they can raise their families, they can retire in security. Also, skilled workers will bring more employers, I feel, and with those employers, we will have families that will stay in New Hampshire.
That's a big issue. That's a big issue. When I ran here in Nashua for the Board of Aldermen last year, it's an issue that is on a lot of folks' minds as far as, okay, how do we keep young families? How do we, so that they don't move out after college and then maybe come back when they start a family? But how do we attract young folks to stay in the southern part of the state, but really all over the state, because that's what we need to continue to grow. We're an aging population, which is okay, but you need young folks like us to be paying our property taxes and supporting the communities and taking some of the burden off of senior citizens. So you are a lifelong New Hampshire resident.
Yes, I am. Almost lifelong. I was born in Roxbury, Mass. And lived there till I was about 2 or 3, and moved to Nashua.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Nashua?
I grew up in Nashua. I'm so excited to be able to serve in Nashua. Um, I grew up on Thayer Court, moved to Durham Street, went to Nashua schools, Broad Street School, Sunset Heights, Nashua High, and also colleges in Nashua.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So
also went to church at the First Church
Oh,
in
okay.
Nashua. So
So you're very familiar with the
very,
community.
yeah.
Do you see, I mean, is there a difference in the issues that are important to the towns versus important to the wards of Nashua that you would be representing?
There are differences and there are similarities. The similarity is in education. And with the seniors, it's also in education funding and property taxes. But each town does have its own uniqueness. For example, in Mason, it's really about broadband because they need stronger broadband. In Nashua, it's very much rail, but that follows through to Brookline and Hollis as well.
Right.
They're looking for rail as well. And then as you get further into Ringe and I would imagine Greenville and Mason, the issues are very much about energy. And we dodged a pipeline. We worked very hard to push back on a pipeline that was going through 17 towns. So for those towns, the energy policy, the ability to prevent large companies from taking their land is critical.
Do you see that the pipeline fight, do you see that's something that could come up again in the future?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, it is now with the Granite Bridge pipeline. So even though that's not in our area directly, it's still an issue. And I have to give these folks credit that even though it's not in their area right now, they still stay involved. They're still concerned.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough issue, tough issue to balance, I guess. But I think we see with Northern Pass as well. I mean, I think there are potentially ways to do things that are compromises, but unfortunately these companies don't want to compromise.
Right. I'm really looking forward to digging into that debate, that negotiation, and really understanding if you really want this to work, then you need to listen to the people.
Right.
And we need to have some serious conversations about how we fund it because it's largely through property taxes. And this is something that is a burden for seniors. And what is frustrating for me, being somebody on the Hollis Brookline School Board, wanting to improve education there, but also being sensitive and mindful of the fact that when we raise our costs, it raises the cost of seniors. So we need to find a way of funding so that we're not battling each other, so that we are working together. And, you know, I'm not going to say what it is. I don't necessarily have the answers, but I think from listening to people, that's how we're going to find our answers.
Sure. And I know in the towns in Brookline, Hollis in particular, you know, I mean, I think they're really, people want to have, even here in Nashua, to have, you know, the best schools that they can provide for our kids. And like you were saying before, adequate funding may not be really adequate. Yeah. Priorities going into, if you're elected in Concord, what are the top 3 or top 2 priorities for your first term?
I'm going to give you 4.
Okay, perfect.
So my priorities are first and foremost education. I think that's just, as I said, the springboard, and it relates to so many other topics. So we need to continue to keep public education strong. Healthcare, we need to fund Medicaid expansion. We need to continue to do that. Focus on the opioid crisis, but also assisting seniors who have to pay exorbitant costs for medication. There has to be ways that we can reduce those costs. So I'm looking forward to understanding that and working more on that. Paid family medical leave is very important. I know that it helped me when I was pregnant with my daughter years ago. So I think it's important that people have the ability to take the time off that they need to be with their families when they're in need.
Absolutely.
Let's see, the environment is also very critical in our energy policy. I'm very much a supporter of renewables. After having the pipeline nearly go through our towns, it leaves me with a very bad taste in my mouth, I'll put it that way. And so I'm going to be very, very mindful and watchful of any proposals that promote fossil fuels.
Sure.
I'm really supporting renewable energy.
Great.
Right. And then I want to make my fourth one is about decency.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very important that we work together, that we, not just as legislators, but as people, as voters, to deal with each other as people. You know, let's not deal with each other as Republicans and Democrats or blacks and whites. We need to listen to each other, have dialogue with each other, and I think that we'll find that we'll have a lot more in common.
I always thought about New Hampshire and Nashua are that, you know, we're fortunate that we're in a state where it can be contentious, but I don't think it's completely taken over yet, as it has in other places where it's severely partisan. And so we really have an opportunity here to accomplish great things in Concord or here in Nashua. And I don't think people, I think unfortunately the healthcare debate has been put on the back burner these last couple of years with because of the contentiousness, but I don't think people realize the effect that going back on healthcare will have, especially on the opioid crisis here locally.
Right.
So we only have a couple minutes here left. Is there anything else that you would like voters to know about you? If you could tell them how they can get in touch with you, you know, if they'd like more information, website, Facebook page, anything like that.
Right, sure. Well, first of all, I just want to say that I'm very excited to be able to run for state senate. I'm extremely happy to be able to run and possibly serve in Nashua. And you know, I feel that I'm qualified for this job because I've been a state representative for 6 years, for 3 terms. And serving in Hollis and Brookline and Mason, which are conservative, rather conservative towns, to be able to win in those towns, I feel that that is a great testament, and I feel that I can work well in Rindge and New Ipswich, but really Nashua is where I grew up, you know, where I went to school and to church, and it's great to make those connections again with my friends' parents. Now I'm hanging out with my friends' parents, which is really kind of cool. But, you know, I feel that I'm ready for this challenge. I want to listen to people. I want to listen to everyone. It doesn't matter, as I said, Republican, Democrat, Independent, we need to listen to everyone. That's where we get our ideas. And I may not always agree, but I will always listen, and I will always learn.
And so if people want to get in touch with you, website, Facebook page?
Oh, well, first of all, please like my Facebook page. It's Melanie 4, the number 4, NH Senate.
Okay.
And I'm only like 3 away from 500, so like my Facebook page. I have a great website. It's www.melanie4nhsenate.com. And please hop on my page. You'll learn more about me. Reach out to me and ask me questions. If you want my sign, please let me know, and please go and vote September 4th. I ask for your vote, and 5 people that you know, bring them to the polls.
Yeah.
We're going to win this. We can do it.
Yeah. And so the primary date is September
11th.
September 11th. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And in here in Nashua, you are on the ballot in wards 1, 2, and 5.
1, 2, and 5. Yes.
And so we'll say that that's the Senate seat that Senator Peggy Gilmore used to.
Yes, Peggy Gilmore, wonderful senator, and I hope to be as effective as she was.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Melanie Levesque, for being here with us, and best of
Dave.
luck.
Thank you very
as
much.
as you get into the primary season.
Great.
All right.
To see you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.